Hey, boils and ghouls, this is David Howard Thornton from Terrifier and the upcoming Terrifier 2, and you're listening to Moose's Monster Mash.
Do you like to binge watch TV? Did you know you could binge listen to podcasts? Head over to electronicmediacollective.com, where they have podcasts for days. You like podcasts about wrestling? They have that. Do you like podcasts about TV and film? They have that. Do you like podcasts about horror? EMC has that too. Do you like comedy? Do you like books? Guess what? They've got you covered. Head over to electronicmediacollective.com. Pick your favorite podcast today. You're listening to Moose's Monster Mash.
Welcome, horror hounds, to an all-new, albeit delayed, episode of Moose's Monster Mash. I'm your host, Moose. Our guest this month is an actor, musician, and makeup effects artist. You've seen him in Charmed. You've seen him in Demon Knight. Here he is, Dr. Satan himself, Mr. Walter Phelan. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. Glad to have you on the show. Let's get right into this. How'd you get started in the business?
I never really aspired to be an actor per se. And then doing makeup effects, I just thought it would be really cool to play monsters. So I just kept bugging guys when I was first in the industry, you know. And because of my body type and my interest and then my knowledge of makeup also helped a lot. So Todd Masters was the first guy to put me in suits. And then from there on, I met the guys at K&B and then Optic Nerve and all the other shops around at that time. And just kind of became a go-to guy for suits for a while there in the 90s. But that just kind of came about, you know.
Where did you get all of your makeup training?
Just on the day. I mean, when I started working originally started working with this guy, Scott Coulter, who was a New York makeup guy. He was in LA, but he originally worked on the original Street Trash, you know that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd done effects on that at companies in New York, and at the time was in LA. And that's who my cousin knew. He had just met him somehow, and fixed an oven for him. And Scott Coulter was like, "Well, what do you want for pay?" And my cousin knew I wanted to get in the industry, so he just said, let's just hire my cousin Walter, see what's up. So I knew basically nothing except maybe at that point, even in the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't, we didn't have the internet, so there wasn't that much information. Even if you went to the bookstore, there were a couple of books on makeup, not a lot of how-to stuff, mostly just on the makeup stars and their monsters. And so I had some of that information, just from reading books and Fangoria, and at the time there was Gore Zone, which had a little section in it that was had a little how-to makeup thing, a little section in the back. It was always really confusing, though. It would always give you half the information. So I didn't know that much, I knew basics, but I'd never had any hands-on. So I just kind of did it as I went, which still happens in makeup effects, even at legacy effects, A lot of people come out of schools now, and I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, those people end up going to schools, a lot of money, and once they get to LA and get to a shop to work, they didn't learn, what they need to do at all, because they teach them sort of old-fashioned ways of doing things, and they end up not running silicone or not making modern type molds, and so it's a big learning experience even for people coming out of schools nowadays. Yeah, but when I started, even in the early 90s, I mean, you could just kind of, get a friend who wanted to do it. Yeah, show up. He's a worker. He'll learn as he goes, It was kind of the mentality. And then there were other guys who were really great artists who would come in who, were already doing that kind of work at home since they were kids, And so, yeah, I just fell into it.
Nice. So is that kind of the same luck you had with music, or was that something you pursued through school
not
and
so
stuff?
much with music. I mean, I started going and playing in clubs in LA when I was 18, and spent, all of the 80s. Then I was in punk rock quite a bit, the late 70s, early 80s. So I was in that scene in LA, and playing with, Circle Jerks and Self Distortion and all those bands. They were all younger. And from that went on to different scenes, Sunset Strip scene after that. But as a youngster and, in your 20s, it's hard to hold a band together. And then you can even get to a certain point, and for whatever reason, every band I was in at some point, we'd get to the point where we had management, booking agents, and interest, and label interest, and, it was still record labels mostly back then. And, but something would always happen. Some drunk or some drug addict or what, just whatever. So I quit for a while. Once I started makeup, I was just quit music for a while. And then, never stopped playing. So, I got back into it after a few years, about 7 years. I didn't play with anyone. But it's in my blood, so I got to do it.
Right.
Keep me young, too.
Yeah. Well, and looking through your credits list, you've worked out some pretty good spots in film and TV, even if they're just one-offs.
Yeah, pretty lucky for quite a while there. When I was with Todd, we were doing. He did all the makeups in the last 3 seasons of Tales from the Crypt for HBO, and that's kind of when I started working for him. And that was a great learning experience because those shows went really fast.
Oh yeah.
They had a week to build everything and then a week they would film each episode. So that went really fast and furious. It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot really quick. So we already had Tales of the Crypt, and then once I talked Todd into letting me wear suits, I did 3 different episodes of Tales. So that was already some really good stuff. I think that show's still really great. And once that ended, actually he went out of town to do makeup on The Mangler, Robert Englund. They were in Africa shooting that, and then they won the bid for The Prophecy, a Gregory White film with Chris Walken.
Yeah.
So that was in the shop at the same time. And another makeup artist, Scott Patton, also works at Legacy. He's a designer over there now. And so he headed up the makeup on that show and got me a role in that. And then Todd came back to town, and I kind of, I guess, already proved myself with that, for the things I did. And then we got Demon Night. And so I played a bunch of monsters in that. And that's probably the most fun I ever had, is working on that movie. I was still pretty young to the industry, and that's just one of my favorite monster movies, too, at least modern monster movies.
Oh, yeah.
I love Demon Night. And so once we did that, that had pretty big theatrical release. And then the guys from K&B saw that, and they had Dusk Till Dawn coming up. So a couple of us that played demons at Demon Night went, and they hired us on Dusk Till Dawn as vampires. And so from there, I just kept meeting people. Then I knew K&B, Todd, got to know Optic Nerve from that, and Steve Johnson, and worked for pretty much everybody back then, except for Stan Winston. And it's just funny, I ended up working in, Legacy, which is Stan's old shop. So that's always odd. And so from there, I just kept doing it, working for K&B, and they had a lot of high-profile stuff. And Howard Berger was great, give me jobs all the time. And so that went on to Wishmaster for K&B, and I think they were doing Buffy a little bit then. So yeah, I lucked out quite a bit. After that, once the 2000s rolled around, a lot of stuff kind of changed to even just body types for monsters. So, I'd go for a job, and are you, 4'10"? It's like, no. Are you 6'10"? Well, no. And so it seemed like jobs faded out, a bit.
I see. And, in the 2000s, it seemed like they wanted the extremes. They either wanted short monsters or big monsters.
Yeah, so I was kind of right in between. And I ended up doing a lot of low-budget stuff. And Of course, around that time, though, I did meet Rob, started working for him. So that was pretty cool. And, that kind of brought me out of the woodwork doing something for Rob Zombie. And he's so popular and has so many tentacles out there. It's amazing. His fan base is so huge. It just blows my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I do a few conventions every year. And, even if out of the, 20, 25 things I've done, it's all Dr. Satan, all day.
Oh, of course.
And that's probably the least amount of work I've done in any movie. It's so short, but it's such a prolific image. It just, it just sticks in people's minds, like a tattoo or something.
Yeah, I mean, it is that, like, iconic, you got that, like, iconic character image that, so few character actors get.
Yeah.
I mean, the oxygen mask and the, balding head and just super wrinkled.
And you don't know anything about it, and that makes it even more desirable.
Yeah.
People. The less you know about something. And then people always want more and more and more.
I say, he definitely falls into that, character where you want more of a story, but if you get more of a story, would it ruin the,
exactly.
Aura of what's already there?
Yeah, exactly. Now that's a tough thing, even if you're doing someone else's thing. I mean, but Rob does it. I mean, he doesn't give a shit, He just does what he wants to do and fuck everybody's opinion.
Right.
Which is big, of course, now with the monsters.
Oh, I know.
I'm like, please don't do that. Because it's been tried before, and you really can't do that. The actors are all dead. And, those things are just kind of kismet. They just happen, by accident. Everybody's there, and, the show just turns out to be great, And you try to recreate that kind of stuff, which he's not. From what I've seen, he's not at all.
No.
It's a whole new thing. And we'll see.
It's funny because him doing the monsters has become one of the most polarizing topics.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And it's almost comical to sit back in some of these groups on Facebook and look at the comments that get hurled out.
Oh, yeah.
And, from the beginning, I've looked at it as this is a high-budget fan film.
Right.
Because end of the day, that's what it is. He's a fan of he is a Munsters fan.
Well, yeah, more than anybody probably. I mean, I can say that too, but...
At end of the day, this is a studio-backed fan film. So I can't wait to see it and see, you want to make your judgments afterwards, go ahead, but wait and see once it's released, and then, you want to shit on it, but just wait.
Yeah, just wait and see. I didn't hate the trailer, so I don't know what's wrong with me. I was like, oh, now I'm going to hate this thing. And then I watched the trailer, and I was like, oh, I see, okay. I see the take on it. Yeah, I didn't hate it.
I say, it seems like a nice homage to the original, but it's not trying to be the original.
Right, which is what a lot of other remakes of Monsters. Well, I can't say because Singer did that one. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
TV show he did?
Yep.
It was awful, but that was completely the wrong take, I thought.
Well, it's like too often people try to recreate the original, and you can't. You have to, keep that spirit, but put your take on it.
Yeah.
Because you only capture lightning in a bottle once.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, exactly. It only happens once. Yeah, we'll see what happens. My Herman Munster story is I was 6 or 7 years old and lived in the San Fernando Valley. And my sister and I were down the street from Universal Studios. I think my mom worked at a restaurant there or something. Anyways, we're walking up the street and I see a Volkswagen Beetle with Frankenstein in it. And it pulls into a liquor store across the street. From what my sister says, I run out in the traffic. I doubt that happened, maybe. So we both run over there. And there's fucking Fred Gwynn in full makeup sitting in the mud. passenger side. And I don't know if it was like a grip or something, and they went to get beer. I thought, oh, let's just, I'll just ride around. We'll see what people do. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, so I run up, and it's like, it's Herman Munster. But I'm 7 years old, so my reality of what TV and everything else, you have that thing where it's not really Frankenstein. There's makeup on it. But as a kid, you don't really break that line,
Yeah.
The reality thing is all kind of squishy at that point. And he had a stack of 8x10s in the family in the back and signed one for me and gave it to me. And his electrode on his neck was just like dangling off. And I can see that picture in my mind now, even though it's so long ago. Just wondering, what the fuck is happening? Because, it was such a momentous moment. Because when that was on TV, that was like that Batman with the greatest shows ever, of course, to a 7-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
And, I just lived my life for both those shows there. But that was my Zombo moment. The Zombo episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how much I love the monsters, And I remember back then, too, I think we went to Universal, to the back lot back then, and back in the late 60s, you could just walk around on the sets. Like there was a tram that would take you throughout the back lot, but there were no rides or anything. It was just like you were in the studio sort of thing, I remember how cool that was. And we walked through their house, at least 3 of the sets for their house. Kitchen, the living room, and one other room, I remember. And anyways, I love the monsters.
Jeez.
So we'll give Rob a break. We'll see what's up.
Yeah, we don't get that kind of luck here in Nebraska. We don't have backlots and things. I mean, we have backlots, but we wander onto them. You're not sure what you're going to find.
Right. So I kind of grew up with all that even as a little kid. But there were other times that my mom dated this carpenter once, and he in the late 60s, and I think he worked for Paramount. I forget which studio he worked for, but he took me on like a studio tour once, just me and him and her. And so it was all way behind the scenes. And at that time, I guess it was the 20th century, but at that time was like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Lost in Space and all those shows for production.
Wow.
And I remember going to all those sets and seeing a little scene of Lost in Space with my father, and then sitting in the cockpit of the submarine for Voyage to the Bottom of the Submarine of the Sea. And I also remember in the back lot seeing this submarine, just like a scale model, but big. And that turned out to be the Penguin submarine in that Batman movie. It must have been 67, I guess.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've kind of always been around.
Like we talked, you get into this and you get some of those, like, I guess now, like, prolific characters. It's funny because, like, when someone brings up, like, oh, I was a monster in Charmed, they had so many, like, monsters of the week.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, yeah, who? And it's interesting because, I was talking to somebody telling them that, I had this recording to do today, and, they're not a big horror person. And I was like, they were on Charmed. And they're like, okay, who? I was like, a Abraxas demon. And they're like, oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And just started, listing off everything from the episode. I'm like, it was one episode. But, it was, my wife is a big Charmed fan. So
yeah, I know. There's a lot there. And they don't have to be horror fans. They just love Charmed.
Right. So that's one of those shows that when she's looking for something to watch, she'll just turn on. So I've seen the episode probably 1,000 times.
Really?
And you play this character that just stands out from like the rest of the series, which is so weird because like I said, it's monsters of the week.
Yeah.
And you have this one-off character, and it's just yep, everybody remembers it.
Well, yeah, he's important. I think the story, having the book and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really fun shoot. That was a few days, and see, like something like that, I put a lot of effort into, and a lot of work into the acting, and I had to do backwards reading and phonetically do that, and a bunch of other things. And physically, it had that was a lot of work too. And I think we shot 3 or 4 days, different locations. And then something like Dr. Satan went by so fast, I didn't even realize it happened. We shot that in an afternoon. I was there 3 days, but only shot once. And it was so fast. And that I almost forgot all about it, Unless something like Charmed, where I worked really hard at, or even the X-Files episode I did, that was a lot of work. A lot more acting in it, But they just kind of go by the wayside. But you're right about those Charm fans. Yeah, I get a few at the conventions, but not that many. But if they are, that's it for them. That's their whole thing.
Oh yeah,
they know everything about it.
Like I find Charmed fans are as knowledgeable, if not more, than horror fans. Like,
right.
That is their wheelhouse, and it's again fun to just sit back and just like absorb it all. It's like wow.
And even more than Buffy. Buffy has the same kind of following, but not quite as fanatical.
Yeah, it's just it's impressive with how much people have like banked in their memories, and it's insane.
And then they tried to remake it. I tried watching that. It was terrible.
Yeah, I was not a fan.
I can't say I'm a huge fan of the original show either. It's excuse it's a chick show, but I do like some of it, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Working with the girls was fun.
Oh, I bet. But yeah, like you said, arguably, Dr. Satan is your biggest character.
Claim to fame, yes.
And now, what all went into that prosthetic and costume? Like, because I know there's a scene where he's almost like a super evil Doc Ock. He has extra arms and things, and like, was there a harness involved, or was that all just like added later?
No, there was a harness. It was it went over my shoulders and had the extended arms, and it was attached at the wrists, like around the forearms and the upper arm, and that all moved with my arms, and then there was mostly paintwork. There were a few scars added to the arms, and pretty sure the makeup was just one piece for that first show. It was foam latex, very thin, and glued down around the eyes and mouth, but then they, put something on the mouth and all that, and kind of covered up all that sculpture. So that was like a one piece, and then just the collar went on, and those arm rigs, and they weren't suspended, they were just on me, so I could walk around with them. And then they tried a few other things, like to beat those up. There was this body with like a heart in a jar that was way above me, and I guess those tendrils were supposed to be connected to that or something, It was all just kind of made up artwork, so.
Yeah.
Science of it. Hey, that looks cool. And they tried some chains, and that looked kind of funky. And then they ended up just putting some thick rope up to that body from the arm. So it was kind of like a marionette guy almost, which is another cool part of it.
Yeah.
And then the smock went on, and that was about it. I had some old stained long johns on, and then just a lot of paint, a lot of body paint. When they did it again at Devil's Rejects, and Wayne Todd, who's the makeup artist, he resculpted the whole thing, and then broke that makeup down like he would a regular makeup into 6 pieces. But you do that for a character who's gonna be speaking and be more of a character more than a monster.
Yeah.
And but they changed it all. He put little teeth in the mouth, which you wouldn't know unless you looked at pictures without the mask or toys or something like that, And changed it quite a bit. We did 2 or 3 days on that. We did the hospital scene, and then we were out at the ranch in Newhall for a couple days. None of that footage is really, of course, the one scene got cut. But even the raid on the house, we shot some stuff with the doctor. You don't see that it's him at all. And then, of course, Rob said, this is out. This is too fanciful. I've changed it all.
It looks too nice.
Yeah, it's just too fantasy for him. way he changed all those characters for the second movie, I could see why. I think he did it just to hold on to something from the first movie, and then once he got a left footage, where this is just that scene didn't enhance the story of anything.
Yeah.
The story he was telling about the the family or the doctor or anything, it was just kind of a shock scene. So I understand. That's the story.
He also played another shock character, same movie. It was he played Albert Fish.
Oh yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that stuff. That stuff we did after Universal dumped Rob, and he really didn't have anyone to put the movie out. So he just kept shooting stuff at his house on videotape and adding little things here and there. And we shot all that stuff in his house that he lived at, his LA house at the time. And we did that 2 or 3 weekends. That was really fun because I was wondering about the movie, and then I knew Wayne, so I talked to him, and then Wayne would call and say, "Hey, Rob wants to shoot some stuff, some footage, go over to his house for the week, Saturday or something." That was really fun. That was like guerrilla filmmaking. Yeah, you had Rob Zombie, and Sherry cooking lunch, and his really goth, because he had bought a house in old LA, very gothic, very woody, 2-story, and then he had all kinds of just awesome collections, So that was a really fun experience. And sit down and talk to him like a real person. So not his music and mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did it like 3 weekends. We shot the Albert Fish stuff, and Bill was over there one weekend. Bill Mosley, I didn't even know him yet, and he was because he played another serial killer. I can't remember who he played, and Wayne did a makeup on him. But yeah, that was all really cool stuff. And we did there's a little shot of Tiny when he's burning in a bed, and we shot that in Rob's basement. We went out and got a gas can and the water. I just writhed around like I was burning, And so he was just filling in all these little shots, and really fun.
Who needs a soundstage when you have your own?
Yes, exactly. And then once they finally got the movie out, it did pretty well. I remember it starting really small, like a couple theaters and a little teeny ad in the paper. And by second week, it was like a full page ad. It was really fun.
Well, and it continues to blow up, and it's going to be one of those movies where it finds a new audience every generation. So
I think so.
It really has longevity.
Another polarizing movie, like all Rob's movies.
Yeah.
There's nobody who kind of likes him.
No, you either like him or you don't.
Or you just hate it.
Yeah.
You think he's the worst director ever, or the greatest thing ever. Yeah, there's no in between. It's funny.
Yeah, I've never heard it was, I liked everything but this, and, so end of the day, it's kind of an okay movie. No, you're right. Yeah. It's very much, this is an amazing movie, or no, this movie totally fucking sucks.
Yeah. But he's a really great guy. He'll hire you, if you get along with him and everything's kosher. He hired me for his own music videos 3 or 4 times, and things like Lords of Salem, and I'd show up, play different ghosts, and another doctor. I did the operation scene on Sherry, where she has that big worm coming out of her. And but yeah, the last thing I did with him was that UFO video. Which, thank God, I didn't have to wear the big dick and be naked in it. I'm a little too old for that. So I showed up, and he's like, "Don't worry, you just put this robot suit on and walk around." Okay, cool.
Don't worry, the dick's not for you.
Yeah, you don't have to have your butt out all day. Yeah, as long as I was in LA, which I live in Oregon now. He'd call all the time. He's probably one of the coolest guys I've ever met. Him and William Malone.
Yeah.
Did the House on Haunted Hill remake, which I did with him, and then he had his own movie, Parasomnia. If you've ever seen that. That was only on DVD, I think. But another great guy, call all the time. Hey, I got a day doing a suit thing. You want to come down and do it? Sure.
Sure, I got nothing going on. Why not?
Yeah, why not? See, I just got off about a year and a half at Legacy, working on all the Disney Star Wars shows, and Guardians 3, which was about 8 months of work on Guardians 3. It's ridiculous. There's more practical makeup and rubber in that movie than I've ever seen. It's unbelievable.
I'd say I saw Thor on the list for costume. I didn't know anything about Guardians. That's crazy.
Yeah, I worked on Guardians 2. Legacy got Guardians 2, which was a few years ago, and then Guardians 3 started last November and just ended a couple months ago, 3 months ago. It's an unbelievably long thing. And I run foam latex over there, work in the casting department. Yeah.
Oh, holy crap.
Yeah. So that's one thing I learned when I was when I first started. And Todd Master was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, everything, And he's like, "All right, well, we're here to learn foam latex. Here's the Dick Smith book, course." And like, okay, kind of taught myself with tips from other people, and I've been doing that for 25 years now. So when I started at Legacy, I was mostly in the foam room, so I'm still in there. I chose that room. I chose that job originally because summertime in a shop is really bad.
Uh-huh.
And the foam room has to be air conditioned all year, so that's why I chose that.
Oh yeah, like it can be 100 degrees outside, but
Yeah.
in a shop it's 150.
Yeah, 110, yeah. But the foam room nice and cool. And of course I was told we weren't going to run any foam latex, 20 years ago when CGI started it up. It's like, oh, you guys will never make another puppet or run any foam ever again. And that wasn't true at all.
Right.
And of course, now it's come full circle. All the directors right now all want to shoot practical stuff. So that's why a movie like Guardians a few years ago would have been almost all CGI, any of the characters. And it's all makeups. I mean, far background, not even filling in with CGI guys, but like these thousands and thousands of pieces of makeup in that show. So that's kind of cool to come back to practical.
So yeah, it is crazy how much practical has come back. I guess to being practical.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they're younger directors, and I think they saw CGI was, but it's funny because CGI reached the point where with motion capture, it's convincible.
Yeah.
So you have all this era of movies, this horrible fucking CGI shit, which is just worse than like old effects to me, worse than stop motion, worse than any old kind of effect you could think of. I think all that early CGI. See, that whole era of movies is probably CGI. And it gets to the point where, see, like the Planet of the Apes movies, which are pretty good movies, but nothing I would, jump off a cliff for, But I'm old anyways. I was 9 years old when the first one came out, so that's not prejudice. Anyways, but it gets to the point where it's convincing, because those apes are fucking totally convincing to me. I think they look amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like everybody's gone back to practical. It's like, I don't know. It's always one extreme to the other with everything.
Everything goes full circle.
Yeah. But, so I'm on vacation. I finally escaped LA. Back in Oregon.
So, before we wrap this up, I know you're on vacation, but do you have any projects coming out that you want to talk about?
Well, like I said, I'm reading a script right now. It's a low-budget film. Young filmmakers. Nothing really to say about it. I'm reading the script. It seems pretty cool. And, I'm supposed to be back to work in January down there in LA, possibly. Playing a lot of shows, playing shows in LA all the time. And have other tours coming up with the band for Pat Todd and the Rank Outsiders. And other than that, no, I'm going to relax for a while.
Well, it's the time of year to do it.
Yeah. That's about it.
So where can listeners follow you and keep up to date on social media?
On Facebook or Instagram, just look me up on there, and you can also look up Pat Todd and the Rank Outsiders. Plenty of stuff on there about me, and just look me up on the internet. You'll find stuff.
And listeners, like always, I'll put those links in the episode description for easy access. And
cool.
You guys can find me and other great podcasters over on electronicmediacollective.com or on Twitter and now on Facebook at Moose Media Inc. And be sure to tune in next month for our first ever Monster Mash on location, where we're covering Scarefest live down in Lexington, Kentucky. So that'll be interesting. Walter, this has been an absolute blast.
Thank you, Moose. It's been fun.
And love to have you on again sometime just to shoot the shit and see what's going on, catch up. And until next time, Horror Hounds, mash on.
All right, Monster fans, Dark Says out.
This has been Moose's Monster Mash. Come back for more chills and thrills if you dare.